Hello and welcome to the Wayward Skein podcast. This is episode 62. My name is Lynn. You can find me as Tollbaby pretty much everywhere online. We have a Ravelry group. I'm on Instagram, although I haven't been very active on Instagram recently. I'm just going to see if I can fix something real quick. A little bit more. There we go. Ha! I'm trying to fix my camera because it didn't occur to me to do this before I started recording. There we go. Anyway, it is Monday, January 20th. I meant to record a podcast last week, but as soon as I got home from work on Monday, I went to sleep and I passed out. It was like 5:30. It was sad. Today, however, I had the afternoon off because my son and I had an appointment at an orthotics clinic, and so we went there. And I got home fairly early, so there we go. I have a little bit of energy left over. I wanted to tell you guys about this because I was so devastated when I couldn't find these at the beginning of the winter. And I looked everywhere and I couldn't find them, and I was sure my daughter had taken them and lost them somewhere, and I owe her an apology because she didn't. I totally left them in my old winter coat when I bought the new one. And my old winter coat had holes in the pockets that went all the way down to the lining, and that's why I lost them, because they fell down the holes into the lining, and it was only when I went to throw out my old coat and went through the lining that I found them. These are the Naughty Mitts by Julie Mueller. It's the Naughty Gloves. Sorry, it's that one that's a little crooked. They're the Naughty Gloves by Julie Mueller that were adapted into mittens by Tessa Rexroth. I knit them last year. This is some yarn that Kate of Hawthorne Cottage Craft has sent me. I love it. Honestly, even though they're sock weight and they're really thin, these are the warmest things I've ever owned. They're made from Masham wool, and I believe there's a little bit of nylon in here. But anyway, it's Masham wool, which is a breed I had never heard of. And it's this is Baron Sheep's Clothing, so it's local-ish to Kate, and she brought me this yarn in 2017 at our first Rhinebeck together. I love it. They're so warm, and I miss them very much, and I wear them every day. So now they live in my bag. I just wanted to show you guys because yay, I found them. Before I get started, last week was rather difficult. I don't know how many of you follow Sarah, who used to be the Canadian Knitter podcast and is now the Steeped in Books booktube channel. Her father rather suddenly passed away last week. It wasn't completely out of the blue. He had cancer, but he declined very, very quickly and passed very suddenly. It's been a very, very hard week for her, so I would ask you all to keep her in your prayers. Send her a little message of support if you are in contact with her. She's True Connect Girl on Ravelry and Steeped in Books on YouTube. She did post a video the night he passed away to announce it and to basically say she's going to be absent from, there wouldn't be any videos posted to YouTube for a couple of days. So I would ask you all to please think of Sarah and maybe send her a little hug. She could definitely need it, or use it, sorry. So anyway, I do have tea here. Ooh, my ice cube melted, yay. I didn't think ahead, so I made it like right before I started recording. So I have these like really huge cylinder-shaped ice cubes. So I tossed one in so I'd be able to drink it. It is my favorite. It's Twinings Peppermint and Creamy Vanilla. It is known as Buttermint in the US. I'm driving Rob nuts now. And it is absolutely delicious. It's a very, very smooth, very relaxing flavor. But anyway, yes, that's my tea right now. And it's one of my favorites, so I always keep a box of it in the kitchen. Although I've noticed that I haven't been able to find it in stores the last few months. So I'm wondering if maybe it's a seasonal tea. But if I can't find it, I'm going to start looking in stores in Ontario because I can't be without this one. And I'm about 2/3 of the way through the box I have in the cupboard. So On to knitting. I have had a little bit of knitting progress, and I really should pick this up before I start recording. I have a hoe. I have a half-finished object. The color is still not showing up properly. It's showing up way more blue than this is. It is a true teal. It is much, much greener than it's showing up on the screen. I don't know how to fix that. Teals are hard to photograph, I find. But it is teal and orange with a little teeny bit of blue the way it's showing up on the screen. But it is... Nope, not even close. Maybe it's the lighting. I've got like bright white lights in here. I don't know. But this is not the color it looks. This is the first of Rob's wedding socks. And I finished it before I would have recorded last Monday. So I think I finished it last Saturday or Sunday. And I'm really hoping that he likes the fit of the heel because I tried something a little different. Usually I do a straight slip stitch heel for him. And this time I liked the way this was working up so well. I did an eye of partridge, and look at how gorgeous that is with that variegation. Oh, that's close to the teal. But I just love the way it looked with the variegation, and it is beautiful, and I love it. And lest you think that I got second sock syndrome, my little Brian Beck 2017 bag from Kate that she had made for all of us. That zipper's a little stiff sometimes when you haven't used it in a couple of days. Lest you think that I would have second sock syndrome, I cast on right away. And I am a little more than halfway done the leg. Let's see here. A little more than half. So I've got a couple of inches to go before I start the heel. What I do is I do 75 rows for the leg. And I think I'm 42 or 43 in right now. I count every so often to check because I lose track. Every now and then I'll just get a spot where my stitches look a little wonky. It all blocks out though. But I just noticed it. I was like, that looks wrong. Not as wrong as the one, I don't even know where it is now, but there's one purl where there should be a knit somewhere in the leg on this one. I asked Rob if he minded or if he wanted me to go back, and he was like, proves they're handmade. So I'm well on my way to getting the second sock done. My goal was to finish the first sock. I did that. My goal for this week is to finish the leg. I'm not going to push myself because I've got some other time-sensitive projects on the needles that are a little more important. I don't have to finish this till September, although my goal in my journal is to finish it by the end of the month, which only leaves me about a week, 10 days, 11 days. No, nope, not even 9 days. Today's the 20th. This is January, not February. I have 11 days. I'm good. I can math, I swear. So this lives in my little Hanukkah needle keeper from Mandy Pinecone Crafts. And a little bag from Kate. Sorry, it looks wonky, but it's really... So she made these, and then she had them embroidered by a friend of hers. And I just love this bag. The inside fabric coordinates with the handle. And that's where my socks live, and my socks are my bus knitting right now. So that comes to work with me every day, and I work on it on the bus. Just putting it back in my bag, and I'll put the finished sock up here. Ooh, warm. I maybe need to get a little table for when I record because everything's on the floor and I just keep having to reach down for it. So I got a little bit of knitting done on my scrappy blanket. My goal had been to do 2 squares and I got those done. So there's my 2 squares that I got done, these 2. And they are, gotta look at my notebook. And I figured it out. A blanket square is 838 stitches. I figured it out because what I was doing was on my progress tracker in my journal, I was actually writing down how many stitches I knit a day. And then I stopped doing that last weekend because I lost track and I didn't have access. I forgot my journal at work last weekend. So I was trying to remember everything for Monday and I didn't. And I just kind of lost track and stopped. So this is Red Sock, Blue Sock, Sock Adventures. A friend gave it to me a good while back. And this one is Fiber Stash Tweety Toes in turquoise from Mandy of Mandy Pinecone Crafts. Nope, sorry. Wow, I lied. This is from Brandy, who is Brandy Miller Designs. Or what are you on Ravelry, Brandy? Are you still Eat My Yarns? She's Witchy Knits on Instagram, but I think she's still Eat My Yarns on Ravelry. But she's Brandy Miller Designs as well on Ravelry. You can find her designs that way. And so I am almost halfway through. Oh, that was halfway on the second row. So I don't know. I don't think I'm going to make a goal for this week, but I would like to get a couple more squares before the end of the month. I think that's realistic. Because I do have a couple of other higher priority projects right now. So my goal is to get 2 more squares by the end of the month. Oop, where'd it go? Don't mind me. And that lives in my gorgeous tie-dye Art by Anna bag that I love. Sorry, just trying to put stuff away and get it out of the way at the same time. I really should have picked a notebook that fit in the bag. Maybe. Because that means this is not a traveling project unless I'm packing a whole, big suitcase sort of thing. So on to projects that you haven't seen yet. There's one that I had started and I goofed. I was not using the correct size needles and I feel like an idiot because when I got to the point where it was time for the decreases, I was a little uncomfortable. The hat looked a little tight. I wasn't sure. So I made it a little bit smaller on the needle. Like I pushed it onto the needle and made sure that it wasn't going to fall off. And I put it on my head and there was no way. It wouldn't even fit on a little kid's head. So I looked at the needles and I found myself a gauge, needle gauge. And I measured the needles and I was off by 2 whole millimeters, guys. I thought I was using US 11s or maybe 10.5s. A US 11 is 8 millimeters. I was using 10s, which are a 6 millimeter. That's a big difference. Also, the yarn I was using was this stuff. It was Sirdar Denim Chunky. This is not chunky. Wow, I've got all these stains on my arms from yesterday. I made pickled beets yesterday. So yes, my forearms are all red. It looked like I got beaten. Technically I did. Yes, I did. Sorry, I am the queen of dad jokes. I'm sorry. This is really a heavy worsted at most. Maybe an Aran weight. It's not a bulky. So I was using this with needles that were too small. So obviously the hat was coming out miniaturized. And I realized it 2 nights ago and I went, damn it. So fortunately, I have a lot of chunky in my stash. I just so happened to find a set of size 8s, which are these. The UK needles, so it's not going to focus. Oh well. Trust me, that says 8 millimeter. It says a UK 0, but that's fine because I know that an 8 millimeter is a US 11. So that is the right needle size. And I had some Bernat Softy Chunky in my stash in true gray. And so I started the hat over again. This is a test knit. It is the Alley-Oop hat by Seattle Sky Dye Works. It is by Castile Lukes, who is a friend of mine who runs Seattle Sky Dye Works in just outside of Seattle. If you go to her website and sign up for her newsletter subscribers will get a code for a free download of this hat pattern, or they'll get a link to download the hat pattern when it's released. So I'm about 2/3 of the way down the hat right now. Sorry, the light is like directly above my head. So there we go. You can see the pattern now. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous textured pattern, which I find that Softy Chunky does really well with is textured patterns. One of the, I don't remember the name of the scarf I knit out of Softy Chunky, but it was a textured scarf. and it showed this the texturing beautifully, just like this is doing right now. And this is a little bit darker than it looks, but of course I've got the light directly overhead. So I'm hoping to be able to move this whole operation into the other room in the next week or two. I've been reorganizing my stash. I've been cataloging my stash to make sure that everything's in Ravelry, but I've also been reorganizing it. And I cleaned my room last week. I finished cleaning my room last week. So Rob did quite a bit of work with me while he was here over Christmas, but I finished cleaning my room the other day. And so now I have a lot more floor space. I have room to put a chair in there. I'm really hoping to pick up a tripod to put the camera on, and then I can move stuff over there. Or at least setting up something that I can sit the computer on so that it's not sitting on a chair with a bunch of encyclopedias underneath it, which is the situation I'm in now. I literally have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 volumes of an encyclopedia under the computer. Yeah. They're Time Life encyclopedias. One is the How Things Work encyclopedia, and the other one is about science, like it's a science encyclopedia. Anyway, those are sitting underneath my computer right now so that I can talk directly to you. So yes, this is the Alley-Oop hat. It is Bernat Softy Chunky and True Gray. True Gray? Yes, True Gray. Wow. The needles are size 8mm or US 11. And so yeah, go to seattleskydyeworks.com, sign up for the newsletter, and you will get a code. Newsletter subscribers will get a code to download it free once released. Yes, you will get a code in the newsletter telling you how to download this pattern for free. Once it's been released, I believe it's supposed to be the first week or second week of February. So you had not seen that yet. And yeah, I'm 2/3 of the way done because the yarn is disappearing quickly. Floof. I did cast on a whole new project the other day. And it's living in this bag because it's ginormous. That's just the individual balls of yarn that I'm using right now. And of course, I can't spot the project right now. Maybe I put it in the bag. Let's check. Because that would be lovely, lose the project before I even get to show it to you. Nope, it's not in there. Huh, I thought it was right on the table here. 2 seconds. I see it. Don't mind me. Got it. Who knew you could pause recording? I didn't. So I realized a couple of weeks ago that not only is my cousin expecting a baby in May, but so is a very good friend of mine. And I'd better get moving on the baby blankets pronto if I wanted to get them done. So this one will likely be delivered sometime around Passover/Easter. We shall have to see. Sorry, my mouth is really dry now that I've suddenly started speaking. Oop, that's still very warm. So, for this friend, I had made a very, very large, very elaborate wedding blanket. It was in super bulky, and it took me quite some time. It took me about 4 months, and that was killing myself knitting on nothing but that. Well, I had some yarn left over, like at least 1 ball in each color. Some colors I had 2 or 3 balls. And I knew that I wanted to save the yarn to make a blanket for their first child. I knew they wanted kids. And so I started working on the baby blanket. So you guys may remember, if you ever watched Two Tangle Skeins, you will remember the blanket that I made for my friends Stephen and Sarah before they got married in 2015. It was huge. It was elaborate. It was mind-blowing as a project. And this is not working. If I want to sit back, I need to... There we go. So it was huge. Each square was about the size of one of these, or of all 4 of these. And it was cabled, and it was intricate, and it took me forever, and they love it. Apparently his wife uses this blanket all the time. It is her comfy, cozy, lounging around the house blanket. It stays on their guest bed sometimes. It goes on their bed sometimes. She loves this blanket. So as she is a quilter and she knows how to take care of things, I was not concerned about making them a blanket out of wool. So this is what I'm doing with the leftovers. It is a mitered square blanket. And lest you think that I only have 4 squares, no. I've got 5 across right now. I'm debating doing 6 across, but for now I've got 5. So each square, each one of these, takes 20 grams of yarn. So there are some colors like this where I only have 1 skein of it that I'm going to be able to get 5 squares out of. Others, most of the others I have 2 skeins. The gray, the blue, the light blue, I think I only have 1. This light green one I've got 3. The teal one I think I have 2 or maybe 3. So yeah, I've got a lot of this yarn left over. I'm going to be at least able to make a 5 square, like a 25 square blanket, if not make it 6 across and just go lengthwise, just go until I run out of yarn. We'll see. Because I'm also thinking I might make a sweater. I've been weaving my ends in as I go, with the exception here I had to cut the yarn because there was a, it had gotten snagged and had ripped 2 strands. So I cut it and then I wove it in as a new piece, and so I got to weave these in. I haven't, actually that's the only end I haven't woven in, is that here. Because the when I get to the end of the blanket, I weave in the ends this way, like along this seam as opposed to these seams, because that's where I weave in the yarn between the squares. So it's all woven in, up to date. There's these ones left and there's these ones left, and that's it. It's pretty clean, which makes me happy because you very easily know which side is the right side. And what I might do is take one of the lighter colors and just do a border, like a crocheted border around it. That's what I had done with their blanket. We'll see how much yarn I have left. I'm not going to buy any new yarn for this project. This was leftovers from their wedding blanket, and that's why it holds emotional significance for the baby's blanket. So I'm hoping that we get to visit them in April when I go down for Passover so that we can deliver this. My goal for this week is to finish the 2nd row, and we'll see how far I get. I'd like to start the 3rd row. I'm not going to say I'm going to finish 2 rows in a week, because that's insanity. And lately I have not been getting a lot of knitting time. Thursday night I had a class, so I wasn't home Thursday night. Wednesday I was working. Saturday I was working. Sunday I was working. I'm supposed to be picking up Friday shifts sometime soon, but I have not for this coming week. So we'll see what I can get done in a week. But yeah, I have until May to get that done. The yarn for my cousin's baby blanket, because I know that one's going to go a lot quicker, or is not going to be as, I have until the baby's born to give it to her. I don't have to deliver it a month ahead of that. The yarn for that one is all on my table right here. So I will be thinking about what I want to do and starting that soon. I'm going to put this back in the bag so I can find it again. And this is a Bags by Awesome Granny sweater size bag. I love it to death. It is so huge and so sturdy. It's my big pillow. So I have 6 different balls in there, and that's why the bag is so... the extra balls are in another bag down here. Anyway, that's what I'm working on. That is being knit on 6mm needles, which is the US 10. These guys right here. Unfortunately, there's no size actually stamped on the needle, so I had to check. I believe they're clover bamboo needles, but I love them. They have a finish on them, like they have varnish on them, and they're so smooth and soft, and they're just beautiful to knit with. I wish they were a little pointier, but look, I'm not going to be picky. So that's all I've been knitting on for the last 2 weeks. The Find Your Fate has gotten no love whatsoever because I basically added 2 time-sensitive projects. I have until the end of the month to finish the alley-oop hat. I'm going to give myself a break with the blanket because I have a little bit of time to finish that one. Plus, I have a couple of other things I need to cast on rather quickly. So things might be starting to go into a rotation, and we'll see what happens. I'm still watching the A-Team. I've started watching a lot more podcasts at home. I'm trying to do less of that over my lunch hour at work just because I've been training a new coworker. And having my headphones on during my breaks and lunch hour is not conducive to training the new coworker who sits next to me. So I've been trying to use my headphones as little as possible at work, which has been a little stressful, but not too bad. Because I use my headphones to sort of block out the noise around me. I sit right next to the printer. And so people are constantly walking over to the printer, blah, blah, blah. The printer makes a lot of noise. People will stop and just have life story conversations by the printer. And it's very distracting. So I wear my headphones a lot of the time at work, but I have not been since my new coworker started because she's always asking me questions and I have to be able to hear her answer them. So I have not been watching podcasts over my lunch hour. And so I've been watching them in the evenings, which has left me less TV watching time, but that's fine. I'm on season 3. They finally got rid of Tanya, who was Amy's replacement. There's no more Scrappy Doo. It's actually picked up again in interest-wise, and I'm enjoying it again. So we'll see how it goes. I'm midway through season 3. Reading books. Where did I put them? Here's one. So I did finish Samantha's Secret Room pretty much the day after I podcasted, by Lynn Cook. It's a scholastic book from 1969. It was very, very interesting. I found that the lead up to what was going on lasted this much of the book, and this was the climax. 2 pages. That was pretty much it. I mean, granted, it's not aimed at me. It's aimed at like 11, 12-year-olds. But I found that a little bit odd and rushed at the end, I want to say. But it was a really good book, and I really enjoyed it. It's going to go in the little library at work, the little free library in the kitchen at work. And either somebody's going to pick it up, or if it's still there 6 months later, I will put it in the free library on the street. Because YA novels don't really tend to move all that quickly at work because, well, we're all adults. And I had it like right, jeez. If I was any less organized, I'd be dangerous. I had it right here. I went into my room to get it. Anyway, I can't find it. I'm not seeing it. Nope, gone. No idea. It's probably sitting in the bathroom because I stopped in the bathroom on the way here. I have restarted reading The Audacity of Hope by Barack Obama. I needed to read this right now because with everything that's been going on, I've been feeling less and less and less hopeful. And I needed to feel a little bit of that again. So I picked it up again, and I'm very much enjoying it. I'm hearing it in his voice, and it's just so reassuring and so calming, and I needed it. I'm almost positive I left it in the bathroom now. I stopped there to pee on the way back from my room to grab the book, and yeah, well done. Now it's cool enough to drink. It's not cold, but it's not as hot that it's burning me. So in the last couple of weeks, I have watched a lot of podcasts. I have watched Little Big Nits, episode 33. Hi, Selma. She was basically talking about her New Year's, her word for 2020, and a lot of stuff along those themes. It was a really great episode, and I really enjoyed it. The Cat Lady podcast posted episode 104. Hawthorne Cottage posted episode 33, and I'm loving the fact that she and Selma are now on like concurrent episode numbers. The Knit Girls released episode 468. Which I did watch. For episode 469 came out today. I have not yet watched that one. Hand Me My Knitting released a Knit from Stash Cal announcement, but on video, which falls exactly into my plans for 2020. I have a huge stash, and it's a little daunting, and I plan to start, well, I mean, obviously I've been knitting from stash because I don't really have a choice. I have not, I won't say I haven't bought yarn in 2019. Obviously I bought the skein of yarn to make Rob's socks. I bought a skein of yarn to make him socks at New Hampshire Sheep and Wool in May or April, whenever that was. It was in May because it's Mother's Day weekend. I bought a mini at Rhinebeck. I didn't buy any yarn at Rhinebeck, but I can't say I didn't buy any yarn. But I've drastically reduced my yarn consumption because I have a lot of yarn. And I got to start using that yarn because it's got to go. The idea of moving as much stash as I currently have frightens me. I have so much stash that it doesn't fit in all my bins anymore. I have 2 dressers full of yarn. That's not counting my fiber stash, which I haven't even touched since I moved here. My spinning wheel has never come out of the closet. So, this is the sort of thing that I really want to pare down a bit. I don't want to give it away. I don't want to sell any of it. I want to use it. I bought it because I loved it. So I want to use it and make things for people and, make stuff for me. And I want to use the stash that I bought to use. I didn't buy it to look pretty in bins. I bought it so that I could use it. So that's my plan for 2020, is to use as much of it as I can before the end of the calendar year. I'm not going to put a number on it, but I am going to keep track of the yardage I use if I can. And yeah, so if you're interested in joining Sam's Cow, head on over to Hand Me My Knitting on YouTube or in the Ravelry group. Her January challenge is to catalog your stash on Ravelry. So that's what I've been doing. I had been planning on organizing my stash since my bedroom had been mostly cleaned up. And so that's what I've been doing, is going through all my bins and making sure that all that yarn is in Ravelry. So that's her January challenge. So that's what I'm doing. And yeah, so check out that video. The Suburban Stitcher podcast put out episode 182. It was very vloggy in nature. It wasn't so much podcasty in nature. By the Lakeside did the same thing. She did vlog knitting in January, or making in January, and it was very vlog style, very similar to the Vlogmas episodes that she had been doing. And because she really enjoyed recording in that style, she feels like she can share more of what's going on with her in that way. And I'll admit, I've never seen a regular podcast episode of hers, but I really enjoy her vlogging style. So I hope she records a few more episodes like that once in a while. Night Owl Fibers put out episode 43. And I started watching 3 new podcasts in the last 2 weeks. One of them was Knitting with Froginette. I discovered her episode 1 about a month ago, I guess. And I forgot to talk to you guys about it. She is I believe she's Francophone. She has a French accent anyway, and she lives in Germany. She's a knitwear designer. And I find her designs fascinating. I find her podcast very fun to watch. I started watching Podcast On, which is River City Yarns in Edmonton. I was laughing throughout the whole episode. It was episode 36 that I started watching them on. They have a yarn shop in Edmonton. They are hilarious. So funny. I enjoyed it a lot. I recommend you check it out. The third new podcast that I came across was Ruby and Rose's Yarn podcast. Ruby and Rose's Yarn is an Etsy shop. The dyer is a 16-year-old girl named Addison who lives in Missouri. And wow, she is a consummate professional dyer. She knocked it out of the park with her very first podcast episode last week. Wow. Bit of an overachiever. I felt a little inadequate. But I really enjoyed her episode. I had to watch it in a couple of sittings because I was working and then I was out doing errands, and it took me a couple of days to watch the whole episode because it was over an hour long, but I really, really enjoyed it. Since the last podcast episode I watched, which was Ruby and Rose's episode 1, 3 new episodes have come out. Knit Girls have released episode 469. Hand Me My Knitting has released episode 32. And Ruby and Rose's released episode number 2. None of which I have watched. So those 3 are on my to-watch list, and they will be things that I rush to watch as soon as basically I get this uploaded. So those are 3 that I plan on watching very, very soon. I highly recommend you check out the 3 new ones that I talked about. On that note, I don't have much more to talk to you guys about. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, and it's not looking like it's going to slow down anytime soon. So my goal is to record next Monday. Fingers crossed. In the meantime, I have to get some knitting time in because I haven't had a lot of that. So this episode will not be as heavily edited as the last one was. I found myself losing my train of thought a lot during the last episode, so I cut out a lot of the really inane chatter that I didn't really feel added to the episode any, and probably would have annoyed several of you. So that's why that episode was so heavily edited. I was a little brain foggy and not feeling all that great, and I was really losing my track. So yeah, this episode won't be as heavily edited, but I am going to put an end to it now and wish you all a fabulous week, and that you all find some kindness in your life. So have a great week. Bye.